Hello everyone, very good afternoon. Welcome to the Elevator. This 11th edition of the Elevator that is meant for med and health tech. I'm Fenice, I'm the community manager for Catalyst. This Elevator event is actually an initiative from National Research Foundation. So NRF, National Research Foundation, since 2017, has initiated the Elevator, which is actually a platform for pre-seed, seed stage, med tech, and health tech startups to showcase their innovation and also help them build their capabilities and integrate them into the ecosystem. So through this platform, what we really want is these startups, the participants, they could discover new knowledge partners to invest, collaborate, and co-create the value with them. So this year, we are really very excited for Catalyst, together with National Health Innovation Center, NHIC Singapore, to organize this 11th edition of the Elevator for the healthcare team. So we have really interesting lineup of our industry expert panelists today for you. The teams will not only get the opportunity to pitch, they also get to hear the thoughts, the insights from this industry expert panelists to give them, to provide them with all this valuable information that could effectively scale up their company, their business into greater heights. So a quick one, I'm just going to give you a brief of how the program is going to work. So very firstly, we'll start off with the startup. They have prepared a 4 minutes pre-recorded pitch that will be broadcasted on the screen here. Right after this video pitch, we will invite the panelists on with us to give their feedback and also post any questions to the startups. So now the question will be, you as an attendee, what could you do to be involved in this? You can get to post the questions in the Q&A panel. You can also take part in the polls with us. So to have your voice, let us know why you are here. Or if you'd like to reach out to any of the startups, let us know. We also have a poll at the end for that. So here's the lineup of our teams. Today we have 8 local startups who will be showcasing their innovation, their pitches to you. So the very first one, we have Arcuos. Then we have followed by Stratific Care, Quantum TX, Curative, Fern Health, High Cura Medical, Accelerate Technologies, and Coignan with us. Not only that, we also have our 5 industry expert panelists here. So the very first one, we have Prof. Tina Wong. She's the head and senior consultant of Singapore National Eye Centre. She's also the executive director of National Health Innovation Center, NHIC. We also have Mr. Alok Mishra, who is the CEO of Value Addition. Dr. Zubin Daruwala, who is also the health industry's leader for PwC Singapore and PwC Southeast Asia Consulting. We have Mr. Joseph Mokanu, who is the managing director of a venture capitalist firm called Verge Health Tech Fund. Then last but not least, we also have Chris Hardesty, who is the director of the healthcare and life science practice of KPMG. Chris will also be the panel moderator for today's session. Now I will pass on my mic over to Chris, and Chris will also have his video online with us. Chris, I'm passing on the mic to you.
Thank you. Can you see and hear me?
Okay, great. Chris, now totally your turn.
Okay, fantastic. Just making sure. Good afternoon, good Friday to everyone. I think we've experienced some end of the week fatigue here, even on the platform itself. So thanks for bearing with us, but let us not lose the spirit of what we're trying to achieve here. So first of all, just to say many thanks for the organizing parties. Many thanks to the people for joining. I think this is a wonderful platform for crowdsourcing of innovation. And I was reflecting a bit earlier in the day that actually in the last sort of great global recession, there were some fantastic new ideas born, such as WhatsApp, such as Uber. And now we've got healthcare center stage, which is wonderful. I saw in the polls that actually most of the people joining the call today are interested in learning what is going to be happening in this industry. So once again, I think a great platform to see really how we're going to change the face of healthcare through some of the innovation here. With that, I think you've been briefed on how the program is going to work, on who the participants are. I welcome everyone's interaction through the polling and through the chat feature. We'll try to address those as we go. But I don't think you're here to hear from me. So first, let's go to the first pitch, Akuos, looking to resolve some of the issues in the hearing aid space. So let's roll the video and get this thing started.
At Akuos, our mission is to identify unfixed medical conditions that create stigma and long-term health risks. We provide super stylish, high-performance solutions designed from the ground up. These solutions not only eliminate stigma, but also provide much greater accessibility to those in emerging markets. We're focusing first on hearing loss, and it's a big one. Did you know, according to WHO, there are 466 million people suffering from disabling hearing loss, and this is expected to grow to 900 million people by 2050. Hearing loss costs the global economy $750 billion per year in lost earning potential and healthcare costs. For every $1 spent on treating hearing loss, $30 is made up for in the economy. On a more personal level, hearing loss is a major risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. It also significantly contributes to anxiety, depression, and social isolation. Stigma, cost, and devices being hard to get hold of are three major reasons why people are in such denial about their own hearing loss. Add to that, the older generation don't want to be a burden on their children and see getting a hearing aid as a first step towards losing independence. Akuos One is the world's first smart, affordable, and truly digital bone conduction hearing aid. Akuos One is a combination of advanced hearing aid technology and smart software features, all fully integrated into a range of super stylish eyewear. In short, it's suitable for 60% of the hearing loss population. That's nearly 300 million people globally. Unlike most other solutions in its category, Akuos One is non-invasive, meaning that it can be worn right out of the box as a wearable device without customizations or fitting. And its universal fit design physically adapts itself to work on a range of head sizes and shapes. It's Bluetooth connected, and its AI-powered listening experience automatically adapts itself to your environment, allowing you to focus on an intimate conversation in a busy cafe, or be more aware of traffic as you cross that busy road. It can be programmed without an audiologist. All you need is your latest hearing test report, and Akuos can tune the device to match your exact profile. No more multiple trips to the audiologist for retuning. The market segment specific to Akuos One is growing at 16% per year. However, the growth potential of a lower cost, highly accessible device in emerging markets is expected to be even higher. Stylish, cost-effective, and accessible devices are what will accelerate the rapid adoption of hearing aids in emerging markets. The first generation of Akuos One will see the light of day in 2021 in our home in Singapore, and then also in Vietnam, Thailand, and South Africa. Our third funding round is still open, with the first $500,000 already invested from Verge Health Tech Fund of Singapore. The remaining $350,000 is open to a smart third-party investor. Thank you, and we hope you can help us make Akuos change the lives of millions around the world.
Great video. Thanks for sharing that. So let's let the panel load up here, and then we'll get some feedback and questions underway. And a reminder to those in the audience as well, if you would like to ask the founder a particular question, you can put that into the Q&A as well, and we'll address that. Alex, since you're the first one on, maybe I just kick it over to you if you got a comment, question here.
Yeah, I did have a comment and a question. First is, I think it's a great idea because I'm a birder and I would love to have something which accentuates my hearing. So I really look forward to your product. The question I have for you is, how are you going to engage optometrists? Because at the end of it, someone has to fit the lenses back into this. So there has to be somewhere an interface between the device and an optometrist.
So basically, how that would work is, it depends on the market. So there's a couple of things that come before it, whether we are B2B in certain markets or whether we are B2C in certain markets. How it depends on those particular markets and also their regulations on providing eyewear solutions to people. We can either get an optometrist to fit the lenses, or we can actually add that into our fulfillment process. So, for example, when the audiologist creates the order for the customer, what happens is that they will have the option to specify the lens power and any lens options that the customer may have. If they don't have that, we can ship it with blank lenses, and then the optometrist or their favorite optometrist can actually fit those lenses. So even though this is a hearing aid and it's a medical device, it can be fitted by it can have lenses fitted by any optometrist. Even if you choose our lenses and then 2 years later your eye prescription changes, you can take it to any optometrist and get the lenses changed.
Yeah, because I was just wondering whether they will become part of the channel and therefore will you have to part with some margin for them. So it depends on what your model is at the end of it.
Yeah, the lens fulfillment process is fairly straightforward, although it does have to be done carefully. Yeah.
And I see Joseph on now. I guess you're quite familiar with this group, Joseph. But any comment, question here?
I would hope so. So Stuart, to avoid looking biased, I'm going to have to ask you even harder questions.
No, that's fine.
What do you think has been the greatest frustration of the team or the greatest misconception from investors that you've spoken with about the value proposition that Acuos offers?
One of the, I guess I can start by saying that for every dollar that a government or a healthcare organization or a national health insurance scheme may want to spend on hearing loss or remedying hearing loss, $30 is made up for it in the economy. This is because so there's an insane amount of value in fixing people's hearing, not only for quality of life, but also financially. If you want to think about it as a financial problem, then you can do that. Governments don't realize this. Even in Singapore, you don't have like the government insurance, like through CPF, doesn't cover hearing aids, and we don't understand why, because there's so much economic benefit for it. That's kind of one aspect to it. Actually, I'm going to let Daniel answer the next part of the question because I'm struggling.
Yeah, no, as Stuart have mentioned, the insurance aspect of hearing loss treatment is really very low. In Singapore, we do have we do have options for people with very, very, very low income, but that doesn't quite explain how they're going to cover for everyone that has a need. When you talk about the prevalence of hearing loss as opposed to the access of devices, not just locally in the local region, but worldwide, there's a huge discrepancy as to where most of the hearing loss companies are targeting their audiences and their products to go as to where the actual global need is. And that, for us, presents a huge opportunity, especially in South and Southeast Asia.
Okay, guys, we've got 1 minute left, and I'm going to combine two questions here from the audience. I think they're interrelated. So why mass market versus niche regulated market? So what is your strategy there? And for the regulatory pathway, what are the steps you still need to do if you're going that way?
Yes, of course, that depends on the regulation, because even if you can get ISO certification, even if you get product certification for CE, HSA, CCC, any market that you need to go into, you need to get the regulatory safety marks. But at the same time, it's not just the safety of the product that is of concern. It's also with regards to how it's marketed and how it's distributed, because every single market has their own regulations that you have to comply with regards to the distribution. When you're talking about the discrepancy between the mass market accessibility as well as the traditional way, you're talking about the slowly there are markets that's opening up to over-the-counter hearing aids, which is very promising. But at the same time, we still need to make sure that the safety of the patient is still the highest priority, because if the device is not tuned correctly, and Stuart can talk more about that, it can end up hurting the patient more than it helps them, which is not our goal.
I think we got to cut it here, guys. Sorry, this is a very rapid program today. So
okay.
Thanks for the video. Thanks for the interaction. I appreciate the questions from the audience. You can see we'll try and address. There's a lot more questions here, so probably some people you can follow.
So what I can do, so in the meantime, I can go through and just answer the questions just within the chat.
Well done. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you
very much.
All right. Well, as everyone out there can see, this is a very rapid program, but do try to remember these startups that you see, because at the end we'll do a vote on this as well. Okay, Catalyst team, we'll go with the next pitch here. So Stratificare in the dengue space. Roll the clip, please.
Good day, everyone. I'm Anthony, co-founder and CEO of Stratificare. These pictures are taken during the current COVID-19 pandemic in Spain and during the dengue outbreaks in Laos. In both pictures, the virus have overwhelmed the local healthcare system and patients are left without hospital beds. This is where the COVID-19 situation stands as of 19th of May. The situation for dengue is way, way larger. Every year, 390 million people are estimated to be infected with the virus, of which up to 57 million may be hospitalized. The fortunate thing is only about 500,000 severe cases are reported and the number of deaths is even lower. Our aim here is really to reduce the amount of unnecessary hospitalization. This is 7-year-old Avinash who lives in Delhi. He was infected with dengue but was rejected by 5 fully filled hospitals. In the end, he passed away from the disease. At Stratificare, we are developing Stratifiden, the world's first severe dengue prediction test. Hopefully, with this test, we can prevent such tragedy from happening again. When dengue patients are tested to be not at risk of developing severe disease, they can be managed as outpatients, and this will help them to significantly save on healthcare costs. The freed up hospital beds can be reserved for patients tested to be at risk of developing severe disease, and the less overwhelmed hospital staff will be able to provide more aggressive supportive treatments to help save lives. The underlying technology for Stratifiden is a panel of proprietary biomarkers, and we are utilizing ELISA, whereby a set of antibodies capture and measure the level of biomarkers in the dengue patient's blood. The current gold standard is the clinical management guidelines published by WHO for dengue, but as you can see, the specificity is not very high. We've identified 2 direct competitors, Biosensorics and BlueSense Diagnostic, and their test offers sensitivity and specificity in ranges as depicted by the blue circle. Our test Stratifiden offers the highest sensitivity and specificity. We are looking at a total addressable market of 3.3 billion with a 7% CAGR, a serviceable addressable market of 88 million, and a serviceable obtainable market of 11 million for the first 2 years. Later this year, we will be entering into pilot production followed by clinical validation. In 2022, we will start our registration with HSA Singapore and Malaysia MDA. Finally, we will commercially launch the test towards the end of 2022. We have garnered very strong support from various stakeholders. This includes the Singapore government, 2 of our healthcare clusters, NUHS and NHG, the Mexican Society of Public Health to implement our clinical validation in Mexico. For insurance, we have AXA partners and laboratory support from Innovative Diagnostics. We are currently raising a seed round of $500,000 and we are looking for OEM for ramp-up manufacturing. So with that, if you would like to help save lives and alleviate the financial burden of unnecessary hospitalization on families, please invest in us. Together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
All right, Joseph, you're the first one on here. So what are your thoughts, comments?
Well, the unmet need is clearly there. The question I have is more towards why are the timelines taking us out to 2022 if we have so many dengue cases that we could recruit for trials to try to triage? So I'm just wondering if there's any commentary on how the timelines could be shortened or why they are as long as they are, especially given that the company is in a dengue endemic geography.
Maybe instead of questions then, if you guys just want to pose comments. So Joseph, one of your comments, of course, is how can they expedite the timelines? Fair points. Maybe Prof. Wong, you haven't gotten to speak yet. Any comments here?
I'm really sorry, Chris. I missed the video because I was trying to get back on. So I don't have any questions.
Alak,
sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay. We'll call on you next time. Alak, okay. Any comments?
Yeah, my comment was this is a fantastic idea, and stratifying to help manage healthcare capacity, I think it's a great strategy. The question is, at this moment, I think the biggest need is on COVID, and what would it take for you to switch to trying to solve that problem before we get around to it?
Yeah, I think repurposing is definitely the flavor at the moment, right? Just one last check. Are the Stratificare team there or not?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. So you've had two questions, and we're already running a bit short on time. So one question is why such long timelines in your product roadmap, and secondly, can you repurpose this technology for the benefit of COVID? Quick answers, please.
On the timeline, we can that is the full timeline whereby we go everything step by step. But of course, we can start to introduce the test via CAP certified laboratories. That will definitely shorten our time to let the test go commercial next year. Whereas for COVID-19, unfortunately, this set of biomarkers is specific more towards hemorrhagic symptoms. So I'm afraid it's a little bit hard. But the platform, we can definitely use it to fish out biomarkers specific for COVID-19.
Okay, we got time here for another 1-2 questions. Joseph, Alec, anything else you wanted to ask these guys? While you're thinking about it, there is one that came in from the audience here, so I'll ask one and then I'll flip it back to you guys. So Stratificare team, the audience wants to know, how do you ensure the credibility and I guess that's the testing accuracy of your technology?
Yes, so this is very important because safety and efficiency is like the most essential requirements of any IVDs. So for this, we have run clinical feasibility studies, and later on, this will again be proven through our multi-centered clinical validation studies.
Okay. Joseph, Alec, any final comment question?
Quick one. 1.3 million of grants have been raised for this so far, and I'm just wondering what was the largest key expenditure going forward, because it is a large amount of money for where the company is currently.
Yes, the main amount goes towards the clinical study. The clinical study by itself took out about 1 million.
All right. Alec, anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think Zubir is on now if you want to ask him.
Okay. And we're just out of time, so we'll cut off this pitch. Thanks a lot, Stratificare team. And again, everyone out there, take note. Thanks a lot. As you can see, again, we move very rapidly here, so thanks for that. All right, we got the full panel now, which is great. We'll roll the next video. So that's Quantum TX in the elderly care muscle space. So please roll the next video.
First, can I just check? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Zubin.
Great, thanks.
All right, next video rolling.
Hello everyone, I'm Ivan from Quantum TX, and we are a MedTech spin-off from NUS and NUHS. Today, I'd like to share with you about how we're going to improve the way we age. Introducing Biceps, a novel technology that uses magnets to turn on muscles from the inside out. This promises to help provide the benefits of exercise to those who can't exercise. Every year, as we age, our bodies naturally break down, our muscles weaken, and we start experiencing joint aches and pains as wear and tear takes place. For many, losing their mobility and independence often leads to a downward spiral of illness and depression. But thankfully, the right medication already exists: exercise. Today, a growing number of clinicians around the world prescribe exercise as medicine to both prevent and manage many of the chronic diseases that we face as we age. The issue remains, however, that by 2050, as many as 1 billion elderly will find it challenging or even impossible to exercise. Introducing Biceps, a magnetic mitohormesis system, or as our elderly users put it, a magnetic supercharger for my muscles. Instead of having to rely on stressful physical exercise or electrical stimulation to get muscles activated, we can now prescribe Biceps to activate muscles directly and bring about the healing effects of exercise without much strain or user effort. For more than a decade, our scientists have been developing tuned magnetic fields that turn on mitochondria deep within each muscle. By activating these power generators within the muscles, we trick the muscles to think that they're exercising, and they adapt by improving their performance and energy reserves. Activated muscles also go on to release a host of healthy myokine signals that travel around the body to regulate healthy physiological functions like our metabolism and immune system. With Biceps, seniors in our community who face challenges exercising can now sit, click, and get fit. For just 10 minutes each week, seniors sit and use Biceps, and the effects of Biceps build up over the course of the 12-week programs. More than 100 seniors have enjoyed Biceps to date. Many have gotten stronger, are better able to complete their daily activities, and have experienced relief from chronic pains. Featured in both local and international news, the interest in Biceps continues to grow. Today, we want to go one step further and push for medical applications that will further differentiate our technology as a class-leading device. So while we continue to grow partnerships and distributor networks to launch our wellness devices later in the year, we are also pursuing trials with leading clinicians and physiotherapists to build up more data around our benefits, as well as to power regulatory approvals in major markets like Europe and US. Our first medical market will be the elderly rehab market, where aches and pains limit the ability for seniors to exercise. Almost 100 million seniors suffer chronic knee pains each year, and with 250 billion spent on care and medication, the best remedy continues to be painful exercises that strengthen their muscles and reduce loads on their joints. Biceps can provide a pain-free alternative to strengthen muscles and reduce inflammation, and we're partnering local physiotherapists to validate these claims. Today, we're looking for investors and partners to help us grow this business. We've raised $800,000 from angels and government grants to date, and we're looking for an additional $2 to $4 million to get our devices to the market by 2022. Once we're ready for global sales, we will also be looking for additional funds to scale the business. We know the road ahead is not going to be easy, but what inspires us are the many seniors who have and who continue to benefit from Biceps. So we thank you for your interest, and we look forward to hearing from you.
All right. Looks like we've got pretty much the full panel here. I think Joseph will come back on, and I'd ask the Quantum team also to join. But let me first turn to a couple people who haven't yet had the chance to speak today. So Tina, Zubin, what are your thoughts, comments, questions here?
Tina, you want to go first? Ladies first.
Oh, thank you, Zubin. Thank you. Great. Okay, I thank you very much, Ivan, for your presentation, and congratulations for getting this far. I just have a question about the Biceps machine. In terms of how you see it actually being rolled out for revenue generation, are you thinking that it's going to be something that hospitals will have, or are they going to be home-based, or how do you see this machine being useful and also commercially available to expand in the different markets that you've described?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question. Good question. Always have to make money, right, in order to do a sustainable good. Yeah. I think the key thing we're doing is really addressing a B2B market need. For us, within the wellness community, what we've been doing is working with community partners. So we're working with elder care facilities, gyms, places where community centers, places where the elderly actually congregate, and there we have a shared economy model. One of these devices, unfortunately, is still quite expensive to build, and by sharing that among a couple of hundred people, it actually reduces the cost to something close to maybe $20 to $30 a month. The price of a supplement or just another exercise program that they take part in. So that's kind of the model. In the medical model, we're actually working specifically through doctors and physiotherapists. So we are working, for example, with some of the physiotherapists over in National University Polyclinics, and they're interested to see how this can improve the outcomes for OA knees. And this is kind of like it is a hybrid approach. So they would come in for their usual consultation and their usual rehab sessions, but in between, because at the polyclinics, unfortunately, they don't have the access to a weekly kind of service, they might actually go to a separate location, and we've identified specific places where we can just leave the machine there, and as part of their prescription, they would just go there and use the machine. It's only 10 minutes a week. It's simple. They just have to lock themselves in and use it, and of course, it's a fee-for-service model as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that presentation. So I just have kind of one and a half questions. Muscle simulators that exist already, you see the 6-packs, all the electro simulators. Now, I understand that the mechanism is different, right? Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it's getting to do the same thing, right? Functional outcomes. So my question is a bit more upstream than Tina's, okay? So before we even talk about the solution and commercializing it, is it different in terms of what it does compared to these simulators? And if not, why will it work? And if it is, what's the difference?
So technically, it's very different from a technological standpoint. The electromuscular stimulation devices, the EMS devices, all work on the principle of contracting your muscles. So they generate the action potential, and then your muscles start to contract. In so doing, you actually cause the muscles themselves to have to physically move. There are a few issues with that. One, of course, is the reason why PTs don't use it so as much as they would like to is that the action potentials only go skin deep. There is a limited amount of muscles that can actually be activated. That's one. And if they turn it up too high, you risk burns. The other key issue also is that by contracting muscles itself, you actually cause strain within the muscles that create an overhead that you have to repair. So in our paradox, the interesting thing is we are turning on the power generators within the muscles themselves. So the muscles actually think they're exercising, but they're not. And so there's no strain and there's no wear and tear on the muscles themselves.
And this is based on how many numbers of patients so far? I know that you're going to do trials, but this is based on how many thus far?
Yeah. So, okay. So in terms of publications, we have scientific publications on everything from lab models to rat models, and we have all these muscular rats running around. But at the same time, what we've done in the community is about 100 elderly, and these 100 elderly have seen the changes in their lives without unnecessary stress from additional physical load as well. So that's the kind of data we're generating. Of course, a lot of them are anecdotal, and a lot of them are still not quite there for regulatory approvals yet.
Okay, we're gonna have to cut it off here. So one last question from the audience, and it's a pretty much yes or no answer, so very quick. Mm-hmm. Is there any intention to expand this technology beyond just the elderly subpopulation? Are there other applications? A very quick answer, please.
Sure. Yes, we do, but we have to focus, right? Let's find our niche market that will get us going, and then we can go from there.
Okay. Many thanks again for the presentation for the panelists. Sorry, we just have to keep it going forward. I will say as well, for those who are asking questions in the audience, I think the intention is that these will be answered at a later point, so don't worry too much about that. All right, well, we'll move on to the next one. So curative in the telepathology space. So Catalyst team, if you can roll the video, please.
Hi, my name is Anish. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Curative, where it is our mission to make cancer diagnosis fast, accurate, and affordable. The world faces a critical shortage of pathologists. Even in the US, the system is burdened, and the story is much worse for Asia. Modern cancer treatments need pathologists to do painstakingly detailed work, and they often need expert opinions, which aren't available easily. This means that pathologists are overworked, and this leads to errors and longer turnaround times. COVID-19 has only made the problems much worse, and doctors have been looking for solutions for a long time. It's important to understand how difficult the work of a pathologist is. This is a very routine test where doctors are supposed to measure the ratio of brown to blue cells. It seems simple enough until you realize how large these slides are and how many cells the doctors are supposed to count. Because of time pressure, doctors just end up making an estimate, and this can lead to errors. The same work can be analyzed by an AI in seconds and with much higher accuracy. It's this kind of AI assistance that we build at Curative. We cover the complex and tedious tasks for major cancer types like breast cancer, prostate cancer, and even very difficult cancers like lymphoma. But AI by itself is not enough. Healthcare needs solutions that are well packaged. Doctors have many jobs, and they cannot be expected to stitch together different solutions to fit their workflow. This is why we are building Pantheon. Pantheon is an AI-powered pathology workbench that enables pathologists to do all their jobs through a single interface. First, we make administration digital. It's currently paper-based and very inefficient. Pantheon has a special digital pathology viewer with tools for better analysis. The system also enables telepathology and access to experts from anywhere in the world. Pantheon also serves as a platform to effortlessly use AI assistants without needing to switch to any special program. To build such a system, it's important to understand the problem from the point of view of the pathologist. And for this, we have 3 research collaboration agreements with NUH and SGH, which give us access to data and to expert annotations. Our solutions are now mature and have achieved over 95% sensitivity and specificity in clinical validations. HSA and CE approvals are on the way, and the company has been certified for ISO 13485, which is important to build medical devices. To build such a multifaceted product, you need a strong team, and our team consists of experts from pathology, machine learning, software development, and regulations. The team is supported by medical advisors who are leaders in their own fields. Overall, we are addressing a market size of 60 billion and have planned to get an annual revenue of 1.3 million by next year and 10 million in 2 years. To achieve these goals, you need a strong sales pipeline, and we have trials active at major hospitals in Singapore and India and are constantly building. Compared to our competitors, we are unique because we are building an end-to-end platform, whereas most of them focus on narrow solutions. And our focus on Asia has allowed us to deploy our systems in a clinical setting at a much faster rate. We will soon be raising our Series A, and we will use the funds to improve our products, gather market share, and position the company to take advantage of platform effects. If this sounds exciting, please do get in touch. Thanks a lot.
All right, let me just turn to the panel first in a respectful order. Comments, questions, please.
Sure. Maybe I can start. One of the key competitors is PathAI, and I think this is a question that comes out quite frequently. Your stated differentiation between them is really pace of execution, but PathAI has raised a truckload of money. So I'm just wondering, if we can go a level down to compare yourselves to them further, what would be the top differentiators or the top responses to people trying to compare you?
Sure. So from what we have understood about PathAI in particular, is that the kind of the medical partners which they have are the hospitals where they started out from, and so far they have not been really able to get FDA approvals or then deploy across hospitals yet. So compared to them, we are able to deploy in actual clinical settings, and besides that, even a pace of execution comes also on the technical side, because as of now, with the development pipeline that we have, we can go from data to a working AI model in about 2 to 3 weeks, which is not something which many people can do. Mm-hmm.
Other panelists, comments, questions, please.
I have a question. I think this is a great idea and definitely will help a lot in sort of expanding the speed at which things are done. The question I have for you is that usually in a product like this, you have technical risk and you have market risk. So it seems like a lot of what you've done is more overweight towards the technical side. Now, what are the big risks you see on the market side? Because this is not selling a product; it's selling virtually a service. And having an organization that does B2B, you have to get pathologists into it. So have you given thought to that, or it's too early for you?
No, actually now we are already in the process of sales, and the risk actually when we started off used to be that not as many hospitals had adopted the digital pathology workflow. But in the past year and a half, a lot of hospitals have actually adopted this. We know that major hospitals are now planning to go fully digital, and what they don't have is actually providers who are able to give this to them. And so from that point of view, what we are doing is we are talking to both hardware providers as well as hospital chains, such that we can like deploy with them.
I've got a question here from the audience, but let me just check with Prof. Wong or Ruben. Anything you guys wanted to say, or shall I jump to the audience question?
No, go ahead, Chris.
Okay, a bit of a technical question here for you, but I guess if I rephrase the question slightly, it's can you apply this pathological AI concept to also areas like liquid biopsy, for example? Have you looked at that?
So it depends a bit on how you're going to do the liquid biopsy, because as far as I understand, like most of those are based on the molecular techniques, whereas most of our, like what I call AI is actually like amalgamation of the image analysis and the like deep learning like techniques. So in terms of that, if you can like separate out cells based on imaging like techniques, then yes. But if it's like a molecular tool, then probably not. I mean, not at least our technology. Like, I'm sure some kind of like auto analysis can be applied.
Okay. Mm-hmm. One last question here. Quick answer, please. But what partnerships either have you already established, or what's your kind of partner roadmap for scaling up here?
Sure. So within like Singapore, we have very strong research collaboration agreements with both SGH and then NUH, which like give us access to data, but much more importantly, they give us access to the expert like annotations. And then outside India, outside like Singapore, we are like focused on India, where we are also like building partnerships with some of the largest like hospitals as well as the pathology lab chains.
Great. Thank you. I'll have to cut it off here. Appreciate the presentation. All right, let's keep it going. So now we've got Fern Health in the STI space. So Catalyst team, if you can roll the video, please.
We are Fern Health. Have you ever worried about your sexual health? If so, when was the last time you had a sexual health screening? If you have ever had concerns about your sexual health, but hesitated to go for a checkup, you are not alone. Meet Jamie, a 31-year-old team lead in an accounting firm. Like most millennials, Jamie found her Mr. Right, Kevin, through online dating. He's smart, charming. He seems like her ideal partner. However, they recently had unprotected sex, and now she's worried about her sexual health. It is common to have concerns like Jamie. The anxiety towards sexually transmitted infections is a universal issue. In the UK, 18% of young adults that use dating apps have contracted an STI at least once. In the US, STI is in the top 10 most Googled medical terms. Even in Singapore, there are on average 1,500 syphilis cases reported every year. We ran a questionnaire targeting online dating users in Singapore. More than half of them shared anxiety related to STIs, yet only 12% completed the test in the past 12 months. Inconvenience, cost, social stigma, and privacy are the top barriers discouraging people from regular screenings. The healthcare industry has barely changed for the past 100 years. But people's perspective of how to interact with the world has changed dramatically. We now expect the services around us to be accessible anytime, anywhere. That's why we created Fern Health, introducing an end-to-end solution for your sexual health in the comfort of your home. Let's see how we can help Jamie. Now she has decided she wants a screening. Instead of undergoing the traditional and burdensome process of booking an appointment, taking a day off to visit a clinic, and the anxiety of being seen, she now has the option of Fern Health. Jamie can simply go online to fernhealth.com, purchase a STI screening kit that arrives right at her door just like her other online purchases. She can administer the sample collection herself and schedule a pickup, then receive results within only 48 hours. Self-sampling for STI screening is validated and recommended by WHO, as it effectively encouraged the uptake of screenings in studies taking among 200,000 people. This business model has been proven to work in the United States, such as the billion-dollar company 23andMe. Now, we're joining them, bringing the services to Singapore and the rest of Southeast Asia. there are over 600 million people in Southeast Asia. Among them, 200 million millennials form our core demographic. Reports show that at least 1/3 of Southeast Asian millennials are actively dating. Based on our questionnaire, 12% of them take sexual health screening at least once a year. That's 8 million people. We are starting in Singapore. Even with a small population, there are over 58,000 people getting tested every year. Compared to local competitors, Fern Health is the only one that focuses on building an end-to-end sexual health solution in order to become your true health companion. We are now launching our pilot program, partnering up with 2 local clinics to perfect our customer experience and collect the feedback from medical professionals. We're looking to raise $500,000 to fund our business. The money will be used to expand our operations, build our brand, and establish new partnerships. We would love for you to join our journey to bring the Singapore healthcare to the rest of Southeast Asia. It's your health, it's your rules.
Can we ask a question?
I guess we could.
Okay. Hi, C.
Hi,
Spoken to you before. I guess you probably can guess what my question's going to be. What is the differentiator that Fern Health has, either in terms of a technology or a service, to stand out from anyone else providing a similar service?
Yes, I am actually expecting you to ask this. And so basically what we're trying to be is the first into the market here, since sexual health platform is still pretty like there's a lot of uncertainty towards how do we protect our sexual health. So what we're trying to build is to bring our services to the market first, and then we build up our platform and collecting all the database and partner up with different stakeholders like insurance companies and the clinics. And in terms of technology, so in the initial launch, we are targeting to be a pure consumer service company. But moving forward, as we chatted several times before, we are building a saliva-based, more cheaper and accessible solution for developing regions.
I'm back now. My mic was being controlled for me, but I know what to do now. So anyway, guys, please continue. I've got a few minutes here. So
yeah, I have a question. So you're all making this testing of a pretty serious diagnosis, go almost OTC. So have you thought about the consequences of things like A, getting a false positive, B, being diagnosed for HIV/AIDS, which a person doesn't know what to do with when he gets that information, and C, what is the handoff of this patient, because they can't go and buy antibiotics or antiretrovirals on their own. So have you thought through the patient pathway? While this looks like a great idea, I'm not sure how it's going to work in there.
Yeah, so this is definitely the last thing we're trying to avoid. For one, on our product, we will try our best to ensure the testing quality. But then the most important thing is, if let's say a patient is identified as a high risk customer, either because he's tested positive, we would actually, the next step is always to connect them with the medical professional to run another test and just to go through and make sure, the testing, is accurate. Because it actually happens even though when you go through a normal clinic, if you're testing positive, we would recommend you to do another test. And then, also for people, who really are tested positive, we would also help them to connect with, professionals to figure out a follow-up treatment plan.
Yes, just a quick question. Thank you for your presentation. I mean, if you're talking about STDs and things, these are very sensitive matters. Yeah. And if you're just flippantly just giving them an online, they can order it like they do with their Amazon books, then they do a test. There's also accountability and responsibility. You have not actually brought that up at all. What about contact tracing? What about those individuals who have multiple sexual partners? And if this one individual has had a contact, you need to, from a medical point of view, there are social responsibilities that we need to get contact tracing. So how is your company going to address all these ethical issues as well? Not just sending kits online and then, yeah, you can get some money out of it, but then there are a lot of issues and stigma as well involved, and anonymity and sensitivities.
Yeah, that was actually the reason why I was just about to add. Like, also another thing from talking to the existing STD clinics, what we learned is for most of the time, if you tested positive, they would actually instruct the patients to send out to write anonymous notes to their sexual partners. And I think what we're doing essentially is not discouraging them from doing the contact tracing, but then encouraging them to. Because a lot of people right now, because they don't do regular testing, either because of a money cost or resources, and then it actually just allow them to go out there and have more relationship with others. And then for us, if we can help them to keep up with regular checking, and once we cut, oh, you are at a high risk, and then there's a risk, you are getting infected, and we can help them to contact. We will instruct them to share out the list and contact their
okay, so you're just
and so we can
all right, hang on a minute. Can I just quickly jump in here? You're going to roll me that you're going to be a counseling service, and you're going to roll this out worldwide. How many people are you going to have on the call center? I mean, what sort of manpower are you talking about then? Because if you're talking about putting these kits out, then you are then talking about counseling them, calling them up, advising them to go see a doctor. That's a lot of manpower in call centers. Have you factored that into your pipeline and your expansion?
Very, very quick answer here. We're going to have to wrap this one up. So,
so I think you're the first two sentences, but then I think your question is around manpower. I think so. What our current solution is, whenever we share the results, and then if you are so basically there's a few steps you should take. Let's say if you are identified as a negative or you are at a lower risk, and then our suggestion would be oh, if you have other questions, you should talk to someone and blah blah blah. But then if you're identified as a positive or a higher risk, and we have a few steps for everyone to do. Let's say you should do another follow up test, and then you should we should connect you with medical professionals, and also meanwhile we should instruct everyone to either reach out to each sexual partner. Because one thing we can change is even for the current STD clinics, doctors can only help trying to consulting and talk through the patients to share out their contact tracing. There's no such a thing. We can force them to share out the contacts. So that's the maximum we can do, I guess.
I know, but then that's only half of the story. Sorry, I'll close my mouth.
Maybe just a really quick comment is that I had actually invested in a company in Canada in 2014 that did exactly this, and it unfortunately didn't work. But one pivot that did work was really just tightly partnering with local labs and public health authorities to really be that distributed collection, but still then integrating it into the health system to get the results and get the proper infrastructure working in favor of the patient.
Okay, Cheat, we got to cut this off here. You've got many questions in the chat too, so I think people interested to learn more, but I'm sorry, we got to cut it off. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, on to the next one, HiCura and the spinal tap area. So Catalyst team, on to the clip, please.
Hi, I'm Cai Ling from HiCura. My team helps doctors make better decisions by developing AI-driven solutions on image-guided procedures. Women all over the world choose epidural as their preferred pain relief choice during childbirth. Each year, more than 7 million epidural procedures are performed. However, it is surprising to know that 4 out of 10 women require multiple needle punctures for effective pain relief. Personally, I was left in fear, anxiety, and distress during my own epidural due to multiple puncture attempts. Now, performing an epidural is challenging. The needle has to be inserted 4 to 6 centimeters into the spinal area, passing through bony structures which can obstruct its path. For a safe and effective epidural, the needle entry position and angle are crucial. The optimal position is between the L3 and L4 spinal segment. If the angle of insertion is not right, the needle will hit the bony structures and a reinsertion is required. Multiple needle punctures can cause complications such as infection, vascular injury, and epidural abscess, etc. Despite these difficulties, doctors are still using techniques from a century ago, the landmark and palpation technique. This is where doctors use their fingers to feel the bones to get to the right position. It relies heavily on the interpretation by doctors. The needle goes in blindly and is not effective for obese patients where you won't be able to feel their bones. Medical boards around the world are recommending ultrasound to assist the doctors to locate the right position and angle. However, the use of ultrasound is very low. This is because the doctor will require the help of a sonographer to perform the ultrasound scan, or he has to undergo extensive ultrasound training to be competent. But we have a better solution. YouSign. YouSign empowers doctors to locate the right position and angle on its own with minimum training. YouSign's automated machine learning algorithm identifies spinal landmarks in real time during an ultrasound scan. It has been proven to be effective and efficient during 2 clinical studies performed in KKH. As compared to palpation technique, we see a large increase in the first needle puncture success rate of YouSign. And as compared to ultrasound, YouSign requires just 1/3 of the time to complete the procedure. YouSign offers many benefits. To the hospitals, there is better clinical outcomes, equalization across different skill levels of the doctors, and better value of patient care. To the doctors, YouSign results in higher efficiency and reduced stress. To the patients, there is better experience, especially for obese patients, and lower chance of serious complications. Besides epidural, YouSign can also be used for other neuroaxial procedures that require a needle access to the spinal canal. These include lumbar taps for disease diagnosis such as meningitis, spinal anesthesia for surgeries, and intrathecal drug administration. Bringing a child into the world is a beautiful experience, and mothers are choosing epidural to relieve their pain. I did, but it was a distressing experience. YouSign has the potential to transform the current way doctors are performing epidurals. Join us in our journey to make epidural the way it should be. We are looking for funding and partnership opportunities with hospitals, clinicians, and ultrasound manufacturers. Reach out to us to find out more. Thank you.
One question really with an extended bit. Where is the 4 out of 10 statistic from? And my question in relation to this is, ultimately, is your end solution to have this in every single hospital in the world, developed country and not? And if that's the case, it then takes away the training opportunity for trainees to learn the procedure, which is also a problem in itself. And so my main question again comes to the 4 out of 10, because if you, depending on the centers and where that stat is from, I would want to challenge and question that.
Hi, Kira team, are you there? Okay, while they're loading on, let me take that note, Zubin, and once they're on, we'll put it back. Does anyone else have a comment, maybe more than a question here, just for the audience's benefit as well?
Maybe the comment that I think is consistent with the last time I saw the company was really just with the availability of ultrasound carts to go actually physically shuttle from room to room to deliver the epidurals are, and whether that is the more fundamental problem versus the delta between ultrasound trained versus the AI trained ultrasound approach, because that delta doesn't seem to be that great.
Okay. Hi, Kira team, are you there? Okay, well, let's continue with the comments then. Alak, Prof. Wong, any feedback for the group?
Yeah, I think the concept is it is clinically very useful, especially with patients who are obese with a high body mass index it is very challenging to get lumbar punctures and things. So I see the unmet need there. However, if you're talking about a slim person, you wouldn't need it. And it goes back to what I think was Joseph mentioned about medical school training and doctor training. This is actually essential, that they know how to feel and palpate. It's been around for centuries, and clearly it works. But I think this is an add-on to the challenging cases that you're not able to comfortably or confidently be able to reach the spinal, the epidural space. So that's just my comment.
Thank you. Last chance, Haikura team, are you with us?
So
okay. Let's just continue the feedback then, guys, if you can just share some more feedback.
I'll ask the question now. Actually, I've worked a lot with Kailin, so I'll possibly ask her more questions than anyone can. But the question I have for her is that you can segment this into two places. One is people needing epidural for obstetrics. And usually these are doctors who are trained in using ultrasound. So the training curve might be very different than doctors who are not doing obstetric practice, because they're not using ultrasound on a day-to-day basis, nor, to Joseph's point, do they have availability of the card. So there might be two different segments, and I'm not sure whether they've thought through that part.
Okay. Any other final comments here for this technology? All right, well, let's just keep it going then. And there are some questions here in the chat for the Haikura team to consider once at I guess, a later stage. Okay, well, let's just keep it going then. So I guess the next pitch is Accelerate with remote physiotherapy. So let's roll that video, please.
It was Christmas when suddenly, crash, we race in to make the discovery: my mother has had a massive stroke. The neurologist soon advises me I can go back to Singapore. She will make a full recovery as long as she follows her strict rehabilitation plan. Knowing my mother's level of compliance and motivation, there's little chance that she will make a full recovery. Looking deeper into the problem, we discovered that musculoskeletal conditions are the leading contributor to disability worldwide. There's a shortage of skilled therapists to service the demand of the aging population. The insurance industry is moving towards managed healthcare, looking to implement digital solutions for patient accountability. The COVID situation has stopped all non-critical services, including rehabilitation. So we developed a low-cost solution, combining wearable sensors and applications. We call her Rebe. Rebe allows patients access to affordable physiotherapy anywhere, anytime. Rebe combines motion sensors capable of full body tracking. They're interchangeable to be placed on various limbs around the body. The real-time 3D avatar displays range of movement, repetitions, and duration. The guidance system uses audio and visual alerts to guide the patient through the exercise program. The patient management system creates customized patient progress reports, such as compliance levels and self-reported pain and difficulty levels. We see a wide range of applications, such as injury prevention for the aged functional, and a wide variety of musculoskeletal conditions. The market is approximately $3 billion for digital rehabilitation. The business model is simple: device sales plus monthly subscription fees. The patient pays a usage fee to the therapist. The therapist pays a subscription fee to Accelerate based on the number of licenses. Then we simply monetize the patient data working with insurance agencies. We have a lot of traction in Singapore. We have 2 pilots started with Jurong Health and SGH Hospital, and we have other pilots planned with leading public hospitals. In Australia, we've started a pilot with BioSim in Western Australia, and we're about to roll out pilots with leading public hospitals in Victoria. We have a unique position in the market, both low cost and remote. We do have competitors such as Myo and Sword Health, but our data analytics capabilities are far superior. Our unique competitive advantage comes from our proprietary algorithms, such as the guidance system and deviation alerts. The timing to the market is right. The COVID situation has accelerated the acceptance of digital rehabilitation. Then there's the time for R&D. We are far ahead of most of the competitors in the market. The founding team met at SMU studying a master's degree in innovation. We have 2 of Singapore's leading orthopedic surgeons, and our CTO is a true full-stack engineer. We need support and guidance with our IP strategy, access to R&D institutes in Singapore, introductions to hospitals and insurance agencies around the world, and we are looking for an investment of $500,000 to $1 million. We will use this money to register our IP in the target markets, complete the planned pilots in Australia and Singapore, establish the American and European distribution network, and develop REBI 2.0. This will enable us to become the market leader in telerehabilitation. Thank you.
The competitive analysis, I think, all too often startups kind of look for direct competitors as opposed to indirect competitors. And I see 2 flanking competitors coming in, which is number 1, the folks who can do this with looking at, your selfie images and doing the actual mapping of your skeletal movement based on that. And I know 3 companies doing that. And then the other one is, this.
Yep.
Right. Yep. And this is only getting better. So my concern is,
don't forget the gaming companies.
Yeah. The gaming. Yes.
Absolutely. So the question is really, is the difference in accuracy and clinical outcome significant enough to warrant continued development on specific hardware?
Yeah, it's a hard question. And maybe an answer that the company ultimately doesn't want to hear or answer. But that was my one question from the video. What is actually different about this? There are many, many similar players on the market already. There are many telephysiotherapy providers coming on. I didn't see anything different in this, so I'd like to ask them if I missed something.
Accelerate team, are you there? Can you hear us? Okay, so I think once again we're in more comments mode than questions.
That's so unfair. Basically, if a bunch of cynical, crusty investors and panelists ripping apart startups, they have no opportunity to answer.
It's free reign now. You can say whatever. Okay.
And sorry. I'll vouch that I'm the only crusty one. Everyone else is pleasant and nice.
I think I'm crusty too.
Okay, so we got the competition and uniqueness comment question.
I have a comment to this.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Because in the presentation, one thing I didn't see is any reference to a physiotherapist, either in the team or from a point of view of voice of customer. Because this is the person who owns the customer today, and I don't even know whether he's going to accept something like this. Because A, he's making the dollars today from physiotherapy, and B, he has to believe in this for him to be actually using it.
Yeah.
And the other part is who's going to reimburse this? Because currently, if you look at surgical procedures, 90 days before and after physiotherapy is reimbursed by many insurance providers. Have they checked whether they'll reimburse something like this? So I think there are questions around the patient journey and around the current person who owns the dollars coming out of this thing. Just saying that we'll monetize the data somehow doesn't, make a lot of,
Yeah, I want to just follow up from Alok's comment about, physiotherapists own, these are their patients.
Yeah.
So one of the things actually I've realized during COVID-19 is that physiotherapists, like my mother-in-law, she is actually having a Zoom physiotherapy session with her physiotherapist. Yeah. So, technology is accessible. We don't need this. I mean, you can literally see your physio on screen and they can tell you what to do, So then where's the utility of this particular technology?
Exactly. And these are patients are generally old people who are not so easy to communicate with just digital platforms. So I think you need that human touch.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Zoom is there. So how does this replace?
Exactly. Yes.
I think I saw a demo of this tech at one point, and the idea was a bit of an online-offline model. So you would still see your physio at some points, but the idea was how can they make sure when you're at home you're maintaining the routine. And also it had a bit more advanced technology than just a scan because it could see how far you were extending and making sure that you weren't going, and it was alerting you if you were too far, right? So anyway, I'm not the expert on this technology, but that's what I recall from a prior.
I agree with that, but the point is I need to know whether they're actually doing the testing with physiotherapists. Are physiotherapists saying that I will use it as my companion, and is it going to work? I didn't see that part. So the feedback is they should do that if they have.
Yeah. You need their buy-in, basically.
And I think that poll that I just saw the poll in my screen. I think that was premature because we still have one more.
I just answered.
That was premature here. Okay, maybe any final comments here for the Accelerate team to consider in the group?
Just really reflect really hard on whether this is the best path going forward, or whether there are things within the company that could be further accentuated and developed.
Correct.
Great. All right. Well, let's go to the final pitch here then. So Cognient, which is an area we haven't touched so much on today, more the mental health side.
Hi, I'm Neeraj from Cognient. Meet Rahul. Few years ago, he got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He took therapy and medication, but he really struggled. It not only took a toll on him, but on all of his family. Furthermore, his clinicians didn't have an easy overview of tracking his health outcomes outside of the clinics. And I would know because I'm his brother. Current methods of helping people only work after someone goes at emergencies. There had to be a better way of helping people before they showed up at emergencies, which is why I started Cognient. We predict and manage mood disorders such as depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder. But how can you predict a mood disorder before it happens? Well, who knows you better than you yourself or your family? Your smartphone does. It knows when you sleep, get up, go to work, miss work, or where you're at all the time. It tracks everything and never forgets. At Cognient, we developed a method of detecting symptomatic changes in an individual using smartphone data alone, using which we are able to predict incidences of relapse or depression ahead of time. We have patented this method. It's a mobile platform which patients install after they leave the clinics to track their mental well-being, measure their mental health, and to notify caregivers like me in case I need to worry about anything. It also tracks them continuously and is able to predict incidences of relapses and alert the care team or case managers ahead of time so that they can intervene early and bring help early to the patients. With 450 million patients diagnosed with depression worldwide and 320,000 clinician population helping them, we have more than $2.4 billion market opportunity. Our business model is enterprise subscription, and we charge between $50 to $1,000 a month per enterprise per clinician. We're starting with clinicians first, but we'll slowly approach to insurers and pharma for distribution. Since our launch, we have signed up 27 clinicians in Australia and Singapore, 5 hospitals and clinics, and we have 2 IRB-approved clinical trials underway, through which we have booked revenues of $210,000 just this year. We have a pipeline of $1.2 million. Using Cognience, clinicians have seen to reduce their consultation time by 40%. They are instead using this time to improve their patient relationships. Our clinicians use us 100% every single week. By reducing avoidable ED visits and readmission rates, we have potential cost savings of $2.5 million per hospital per year. And 3 of our 4 of our users, they find us easy to use and feel empowered by using our platform. I am Neeraj, CTO, co-founder of Cognient. I've exited a startup before and led 20 engineers in Accenture. My co-founder Maureen is enterprise sales professional who has done multi-million-dollar deals working for consulting companies. We have a strong team of data scientists, clinical experts, and information security experts who have worked with the likes of Harvard, Stanford, and PayPal. Our roadmap in next 24 months is to complete our clinical trials, generate the clinical evidence, get us through the regulatory pathway of TGA and FDA clearance, and take Cognient to $1 million in ARR in next 24 months. Our ask today is $750,000 to get Cogniant to $1 million in ARR in next 24 months by building our product and marketing teams. We're also looking actively for clinical trial partners, and if you'd like to be part of our journey, please come talk to us. Thank you.
All right, panel, if you can come off mute there. And do we have the Cogniant team on as well?
Doesn't look like it.
They're not here.
Well, it could be on audio only.
Okay, well, no. we can hope that they can come on. Any initial feedback here about the concept?
I'll take it first. I think the product itself is really good because it is important to try and identify these individuals before they relapse. But I've got two questions for the the team. Is that you're talking about tracking people's behavior on a telephone, and if you've got various types of mood disorders, do they already have an understanding of what typical pattern of a manic depressive or of organic depressive individual would look like before they relapse? Because you've got to have to build up a certain understanding of the pattern to know that an individual is going to relapse. So do they have enough patient data to know that various patterns on the phone will mean that a manic depressive versus a depressive is going to relapse? And then the second thing is that if you have individuals who are on medications, very often when they're on their meds, they feel they're fine. They don't need their meds anymore. So how are you going to sort of track an individual when they are, if they're non-compliant and, then begin to sort of fall off the cliff in that sense? So do they have another sort of AI or some pattern to recognize that individuals are not, normal anymore, and that they need to go doctors?
Sorry, there's a little lag. Little lag in the video. Yeah, your first question actually is one of the questions here from the audience too. So let me just check. Cogniant team, are you on with us now?
Someone's just showed up.
Cogniant team, are you there?
It's funny, I just WhatsApped. I didn't realize someone I know is on one of the founding team. So I just messaged saying, how come no one's on? Maybe.
All right. Well, I took notes here of the 2 points raised by Prof. Wong, but panel, are there feedback here?
I just have a comment. Seems my dog has a comment as well, but sorry about that. I found it quite interesting. My only question was, two things. One comment is that I've started to see a lot of similar companies in this space in the last few months. So do they really know the full extent of their competition? And the second question was, how did they come up with the 40% time saved? I'd be very interested to know a little bit more about that and the cost savings. Was it calculated independently, and what were the assumptions behind that?
Mm-hmm. All right, last check. Cogniant team, are you there with us?
Go ahead. Sorry.
All right.
So I had a comment on this, and I say that because at some time I used to be selling antidepressants, marketing them. I'm not so sure what are they trying to do and what the business model is, because there are two things you could be doing. One is picking up depression, which itself is a huge issue. A lot of people who have mood disorders don't know that they have. So to triage them and send them to a doctor is, in my mind, a good idea. But if you're saying that I'm going to pick up the next relapse or something, that's a scary thing, because what is the liability involved with that? What if the person has or suddenly shows suicidal tendencies and needs emergency, intervention? I don't know whether they're capable of that. So I wasn't very clear what they're trying to do, but I felt there might be some liability in like, handle serious guys.
Okay. Yeah. And there is they did give a quick text feedback here that they do have medication adherence built into the platform, but to the degree that functions, I guess only they can say. So, all right. Well, once again, thanks for the feedback in the poll here in the comments. We'll make sure that this is addressed later by the teams. I think they're having some technical difficulties joining. But with that, I guess we wrap up now the actual pitches. So hopefully that was interesting across the sort of 10 or so that you've seen. And I guess the next thing to do is to poll the audience, the poll that you saw the preview to. So out of all the startups that you've seen and heard from today, which one are you most interested to reach out to? Or I guess multiple choice, so you can do more than one here.
Oh, hi. Cognient representative is online now.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you missed all the questions.
Well, I was there, but nobody could hear my voice. I could hear everybody fine.
I'll have to arrange a separate presentation or something. Sorry about that.
All right.
All right, shall we share the poll results?
So we've got Cognient with 23% votes, followed by HiCura Medical with 14% votes. Sorry, it's Axios with 16%, followed by HiCura. So those are our top three.
Okay.
But just to note that these responses are not from everybody. So it's about 60 people who've voted. We've had over 150 people joining us for the session today.
Thanks, and really well done to all the teams. I know this is not an easy format, trying to do all this virtually. So, of course, good feedback. But, carry on with your ambitions as well. So now what we'll do, just coming on to this sort of final segment here, is just make some wrap-up remarks. So I'm going to call on certain panelists to just share with us what have been their main takeaways today. So first, Joseph, what are your takeaways today?
My main takeaway today, I think, is quite universal with a lot of early stage startups that I see, is that competition is either not defined or too narrowly defined. So, it's a 10-year long journey. It's super difficult. It's going to be really painful. So having a very realistic sense of who could be out there could be very helpful in setting early stage strategies.
Great. Alok, how about you?
Yes, I thought all the presentations were very good and addressed real needs in the marketplace. I think to that extent, they're quite on the market in terms of the market needs. What I feel is there is a need maybe to sharpen the business model, right? Because in many cases, I did see a very robust thinking around that, especially around getting very good voice of the real customer, and for that thinking more about patient pathway, value-based pathway of a patient rather than just looking at the procedure itself or the technology itself. So doing that, and also to some extent, what will be the channel? Because in some cases, the channel may be another healthcare provider. It may not be a distributor. So a bit more on the business model side would be very interesting. Of course, I understand the presentation is very short. Maybe there is a lot more which we don't see. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you. Dr. Zubin, how about you?
I think I'd probably reiterate one of the things that Alok said. I think the presentations were good. It's a nice video format. However, I think my take home is that I'm still noticing that a lot of the companies are focusing on things downstream and not keeping it to basic principles. I think it's worth looking further upstream, looking at the problem again, validating it, seeing if it actually is a real problem, and then focusing on the solution before they ever come up with the commercialization model, which then leads into Alok's second point that there has to be a stronger and more structured business plan and business case in place, because everything comes back to that.
Great. Yeah, just for myself, one reason, obviously we're all going through an interesting time right now, but one reason why I'm optimistic in circumstances like these and what we've seen today is I think average health literacy in the population has gone up quite a bit. There's a lot more transparency into the way people are sharing their health information to make these technologies work. And we've covered quite a gamut today. We've covered chronic disease, infectious disease, mental health, physical health. So you can see all the innovation that's out there. I think my only kind of point of feedback is always in healthcare, it's a real question of who is the customer here. These concepts, right? Are you really targeting the patient, or are you working with other, I think as Alok said, channel partners? So who really is that customer, right? You have to make that very clear. Okay, Prof. Wong, maybe you can kind of take us home here with your words of wisdom.
I support everybody what you all said. I agree. It's been really exciting to see a lot of exciting startups coming through. The only thing I would say to everybody going on to this journey is to have a pessimist on the team, because when you have a pessimist, you'll look at all the possibilities of failure, and then you will be able to make your business plan more robust. You will have covered all the possible questions that someone might challenge you about your technology or your product. It's always good to be sort of optimistic, but you also need to look at what might go wrong, or, what are our competitors, and, what if we fail and do this and do that. So if you think of it like that, then you will come out better. So that's all I would like to just say, but I congratulate all the startups who have presented today.
Great, thanks. Yes, I think trust in healthcare is especially important, trust and quality. So well said. Okay, I think with that, we'll basically start to wrap this up. So Friday afternoon, I know there's been some technical challenges today. Thanks everyone for having joined. Thanks to all the startups for having prepared that to that. Sorry, there's a little bit of feedback on the line. Hope you guys can hear me. All the questions that have been put in the chat will follow up, and please, if you're interested, of course, reach out to the startups, help them. It takes an ecosystem approach to get these things out there and get these scaled. So I commend as well the groups that came together, Catalyst and HIC and NRF. At the very beginning, we did the poll, and 70% of people were really interested in learning more about the opportunities in the healthcare system. So I hope that was achieved today. And just make sure you subscribe to the groups, and let's keep this discussion going. So Catalyst team, over to you to close it off. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend ahead. Bye-bye.
See you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Good luck.